With the recent rise of YouTuber boxing matches and the crazy developments with the UFC's Conor McGregor, I figured there was no better time to make a top 5 about fighting type Pokemon. While brainstorming for this video, I was thinking about which fighting type Pokemon it would be scary to fight against and which ones it would actually be a good match. Since most fighting type Pokemon are way too terrifying to engage in a serious fight, today we're going to be counting down the top 5 Pokemon that I'd like to spar or train for a fight with. There are a few things that we need to keep in mind for this list. There are many Pokemon that might seem like they'd be decent sparring partners, but upon further reflection, it would kind of be a bad idea. So Pokemon that, upon contact, would either burn me, poison me, or cut me will not be considered, in addition to those that look too cute and I would hate to have to hurt or spar against, and those that would likely take the sparring match too seriously and become emotional. Without any further ado, let's find out the top 5. Starting off this top 5 is none other than Poliwrath. Poliwrath is of course a water and fighting type Pokemon, and I feel like it would be a great matchup for my own strengths and capabilities. For those of you that don't know, I was actually a competitive swimmer from the time I was 7 all the way up until last year. In many sports, coaches like to use the idea of cross-training, where you actually train for different sports at the same time. That way you get the benefits of both types of training to put towards your main sport. Since I have a swimming background, I think Poliwrath could definitely help use some of the skills that I already have, such as endurance, flexibility, and power, to transfer them towards fighting, since it's both an amazing swimmer and fighter itself. While it would probably be a stern teacher, I think Poliwrath would definitely be able to give me a challenge, and would be a really diversified sparring partner since its base stats are so well-rounded, and of course, it could do some cross-training with me. Coming in at number 4 is actually a tie between Hitmonchan and Hitmonlee. There's no way I could decide between these two since they form a duo and they're said to be equally as skilled as the other in their respective fighting specialties. Hitmonchan, of course, specializes in boxing, and I mean, if I were to ever join in on this whole YouTuber boxing phenomenon, he'd be my go-to guy. However, for just general training, Hitmonlee would be equally as valuable since it specializes in kickboxing. While Hitmonchan would be able to spar with me in the more popular sport, the Pokédex says that it needs to take a break once every 3 minutes when it fights, and Hitmonlee's got a better sense of balance and spring-like legs that can expand upon kicking. Overall, it's definitely a close call, so that's why these two take spot number 4. Taking the bronze medal in the 3rd spot is Conkeldurr. Conkeldurr is a Pokemon that to me kind of resembles an elderly master of martial arts or a sensei. It's got a gray goatee and it certainly looks like it has aged a lot compared to its pre-evolutions. I think Conkeldurr would be a really wise fighter, so it would be perfect to learn from. In addition to its knowledge, it is also a super powerful Pokemon. I mean, it's literally holding massive concrete pillars in each hand. So I think the strength training I could do with it would be pretty incredible, and that's definitely necessary for being a good fighter. I'm just picturing a wise Conkeldurr giving me tips as I punch and kick the punching bags it has in each arm. It sounds like a pretty ideal training setup to me. And our runner-up is Machamp. Now Machamp to me embodies a Pokemon with the ultimate fighting spirit and capabilities. Not only is this thing absolutely jacked, meaning it could certainly help me get into prime condition for a fight, but it of course has 4 arms. I feel like sparring against a Machamp would be incredibly difficult, but also very rewarding. Imagine sparring with this thing and then going into a real fight where you're facing a human opponent. Being used to having to dodge and block 4 fists coming at you would definitely make any other two-handed opponent seem pretty easy. At 5'3" and 286 pounds, Machamp would be fairly short, but still a very capable sparring partner, especially compared to some others on this list which have all been fairly shorter. Machamp's one flaw is that, since it's so incredible at fighting, it doesn't really think ahead during fights and just jumps into action according to the Pokédex. So while Machamp would be perfect at teaching the mere physical skills of fighting, it's definitely lacking in the thought processes department. And topping the list off at number 1, my ideal Pokemon sparring partner would be Pangoro. I know it's somewhat of a weird choice, but hear me out. Pangoro stands at 6'11" and 300 pounds. I'm 6 feet tall and 175 pounds, so while it definitely wouldn't be a fair matchup if we were to actually fight, it would be a perfect sparring partner since I could go pretty all out on it without much risk of hurting it, unlike most of the others on this list. Pangoro's also got some awesome fighting instincts since it uses the bamboo leaf in its mouth to detect the slightest movements that the opponent makes, so it could definitely teach me how to read my opponent's movements. Besides these physical traits and abilities, however, I would value Pangoro as a sparring partner, most of all because of its character traits. The Pokédex describes Pangoro as being a Pokemon that does not tolerate the strong picking upon the weak or any sort of bullying, which I would definitely value in a sparring partner. Pangoro is also part Dark type, which I find to be really important. Since fighting is definitely among the darker sports out there since it inevitably involves hurting others and is also very emotional in nature, I think Pangoro would be an amazing teacher in terms of harnessing any feelings of anger or resentment, channeling them to your advantage, and learning to fight fairly and for the right reasons. When it comes to sparring with Pokemon, there is no better choice than Pangoro in my opinion. There we go guys, the top 5 Pokemon I would like to spar with. But enough about me, what Pokemon would you enjoy sparring with? Let me know in the comments down below. If you enjoyed this top 5, be sure to leave a like, and also consider subscribing if you haven't already. This has been Silspectre, and I'll see you guys next time for another countdown video.